We're back, Pawel. I got my partner back. My co-host is back, dude. Welcome back, Pawel.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's been a pleasure being off, and I thank Sean and Keegan for following and stepping in and helping out. I appreciate it. I know you missed me, Evan. I know you texted me quite often while we were off, but we got to get to it because we got a jam-packed show. We got a great guest, recurring guest coming up. Do you want to introduce our guest for the night?
Yeah, just before we do, just wanted to remind everybody, Wednesday night, so if you're following us on delayed time, Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard. For those in the East, that means Eastern, 9 p.m. And if you're Central, it's actually 8 or it's 6 if you're in the Pacific. So I'm just going right across the board, guys. Follow us on all things on social media. You can find us on the various places. And we want to put a big shout out to our 4 sponsors, JR Web Designs, Penny Billionaires, Puckpedia, and the Kalkaska Battlers of the American Premier Hockey League, Semi-Pro Men's League. So excellent stuff. So we're going to get ready because we have a loaded show here tonight. So we're going to go ahead, and our first guest is Jamie Basco. He is a Flyers with the Flyers Nitty Gritty, a accredited sports journalist out of Philadelphia. He's been on several times in the past. It's been a long time since we had him. So let's go ahead to our guest headliner. Guest headliner. Brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show.
Hey, man, 2 legends here, Pawel and Evan, man. What an honor it is. Come on. I'll tell you, the introduction's the best. Every time I come on, I say the same damn thing. You guys do a phenomenal job, man. That intro is amazing. Amazing. I can sit there and watch it again. So I'm going to watch it probably. I'll watch it with my kids about 500 more times. And it's the perfect time of year, too, because for those hockey enthusiasts who are waiting and just chomping at the bit, it's like Christmas morning, next week when the season starts. Man, that gets your blood flowing when you start seeing those hits.
It's a good workout.
Man. And the music on that.
How are you doing, Jamie? How are things in Philly? Are you guys getting pumped up? There's a lot to be excited about in Philly town. What are your thoughts going in right now to the NHL season?
My thoughts, I feel like I'm in Hawaii, man. Aloha. Aloha to everybody. The thing is, this is the best time of year. It's absolutely amazing. I think that, there's a lot riding. Everyone's really high about Mafi. I'm really high on, John Tortorella. I think he's a hell of a coach. I think I've made that known. I think he's done a really good job with the bunch, with the players that he's given. Because he doesn't, obviously they have discussions, but he doesn't dictate which players are coming here, X, Y, and Z. He doesn't have the cap. He doesn't have the cap money and stuff. He doesn't make his own rosters because he doesn't even know if it's going to put them over the cap. He could say, give it a thing or two. Hey, this player should go. This player should come in. But everything's riding high here. People are really fresh. People want to see how Mafi is going to do in particular. I want to see how Morgan Frost is going to do. I think that he's incoming to a big year. I want to see what Jamie Drysdale, a healthy Jamie Drysdale for once, because he stated this is the healthiest he's been in well over a year. So I want to see what he's going to be able to do with his wheels. There's just a lot of really good things to be happy about. I'm going to keep my eye on Sean Couturier because he's embattled. He's been battling, that hernia procedure that he's had. So I want to see how he's going to, do. Is he going to be a 1C, 2C, 3C? Will Torts protect him? And one other thing, I really think that Owen Tippett could really crack the 30-goal mark especially if he's playing with Mafi. A player like Mafi sees the ice very well. And if he gets off to a hot start, I think that could really help Owen Tippett's numbers there. So I think this is the year for him to crack the 30-goal mark. And will the Travis Konechny be the Travis Konechny to reach the 90-point pedestal? Will he be able to, re-embark and have a 3rd consecutive season of 30 goals plus? Because if he didn't get hurt last year, he would have hit 40. Can he stay healthy? There's a lot of good storylines in Philly. And then not to mention, I think one of the biggest things that I'll have to keep an eye on, and I'm sure that you both will as well, the goaltending situation, I think, is always a question mark in the back of Flyers fans' mind. Can Samuel Ersson, have that season like he did, last year, with the exception towards the latter parts of the season there where he really crumbled down the stretch due large part due to workload. But can Ivan Fedotov protect him if he struggles? Will Alexei Kolosov get the call if Ivan Fedotov struggles? This is a great time to be a Flyers fan. It's a great time to be a hockey fan. There's a lot of good storylines.
Well, we got a lot to get into because you kind of alluded to a lot of things going on. So the big thing that I have found is that Matvei Michkov seems to be the potential Calder favorite. One of, right? Of course, not in San Jose. Your thoughts on his players so far coming over, which we know that Danny Briere seems to be the Russian whisperer because he's able to coerce the Russian government to get him over here, amongst other players. But your first initial thoughts on watching him practice, play some of the preseason games, and what you think he can bring to the game, and if there's too much pressure on him that it may be a little bit too much, or can he handle that?
I think he brings a lot of smarts that the Flyers fans haven't seen in a long time. I think he brings speed. I think speed is one. He's so underrated in terms of his speed. I can't believe that more people are honing in on that. He's much faster than what he was projected as at the draft, and even afterwards. Some people even a few months ago were saying, "Oh, he isn't as speedy." Well, I think that we need to watch him a little more closely because I think he's fast as anything. His hands are very good. My one thing that really pops to me is his vision, and that's what I'm saying. He looks to the right but passes to the left. It's amazing, and it's crisp tape-to-tape passes. He's very underrated in terms of his passing, and I think that that'll lead to some elite goal scoring in the future. I think it's really going to open things up, and what it does, it's going to create more defenders to come towards him and draw more people towards him. So it might leave another player or two open, and I think that's what's going to happen in the power play. Now, I'm going to temper my expectations for him. I think he's going to finish with 47 points. I think he'll finish with 21 goals, 26 assists. I think that in the beginning, yes, I think there is going to be a lot of pressure on him. I think that he'll be, at times clutching his stick. In the beginning, for the first 10 to 12 games, I think he's going to get his feet wet. It's a little different from preseason action, although he's really flourished in the preseason. He has 3 goals, 4 assists, in 4 preseason games played. I think that's pretty well. But I just think that he's going to be able to draw defenders towards him, especially with the man advantage. I'm really hoping that he's going to help the power play, but I think there is tons of pressure on him. If he doesn't perform for, say, the first 20 games and he has an assist or a goal here or a goal here, it's be interesting to see what, Flyers fans, do they get impatient? Do they stick with him? I think they stick with him because his talent is there. He has all the talent in the world. You watch him at practice. I feel like I'm watching like Eric Lindros out there for real. It's just he plays a much bigger game than what his size is. He plays like he's 6'2", 6'3". He's checking. He's hitting. He's playing like he's a 210-pound player. And that's another thing that gets underrated. His board battling. He's very elusive with the pucks. And the one thing that I think that he will help the Flyers with, that the Flyers have been missing since they traded Jake Voracek, is somebody who's able to take the puck in their own zone, in their zone, the opponent's zone for zone entries. Jake Voracek was very underrated. He's very hard to move off the puck. He would come in, and that's what helped the power play as well. If they lost the initial faceoff, you pass the puck up to Jake. Jake carries the puck in the zone, and you're able to get set up. 20, 25 seconds to shed it off, but more often than not, they were able to score a power play goal or two, and I think that's what Maffei is going to be able to do. I think he's going to be able to draw some defenders, make that move at the blue line, do that dipsy-do dunkaroo, and then come down, get the Flyers set up, and that's what I would do anyway, and pass back to Jamie Drysdale for the bullet.
So I do have a couple questions here. I'm going to work around. So we're going to go a little off on some of our things that we were going to cover. You covered some of them already. You have a tendency to talk about what we're already going to talk to you about. But so you guys are calling Michkov Maffei?
Yeah, that's what. So I was calling him Maffei, and when I was at the rookie game in Lehigh. And during the press conferences there, people were calling him Mafi. So, and that's what people were calling him. So for me, what I'm going to call him, being that this is a professional show and you guys do good work, that's why I call him Mafi. I'm going to start calling him Mitchie, because that's what Torts is calling him. And I think that's the safe route for me, because I don't want to screw it up.
I will say Mitchie was his nickname over in the KHL.
Oh, was it really? I did not know that. Didn't know that.
So, yeah, funny when you talk about Mafi, because all I'm thinking about is Russia, and I'm thinking about mafia and owning oil and running, and he got out from the mafia to be a mafia. Anyway, it was kind of a fun.
It's funny you say that, because I'm Lithuanian and Latvia is right next door. So.
Oh.
It's funny you say that. Latvia borders that, so it's funny.
Well, it's interesting though, because I've been seeing, especially on X, a lot of people going on about, especially Flyers fans, because they're super excited, which they should be. But one of the things that they're talking about is they're going on, and they're going about how nobody believed he was going to be that good, and that's not actually true. The problem is the whole Russia thing changed everything on the dynamics, because coming out of the Hlinka, when him and Bedard went head to head, at that point he was basically a 1B considered, maybe to challenge for A, but no one thought of him below 2. And right now, I'm sure a lot of people are kicking themselves that they didn't show more interest early on. So, but anyway.
And so you see it more so, I talked about it with Danny Briere, and we're going to talk about goaltending. So I wanted to kind of get your idea, because, Carter Hart no longer there, so you got Urson, and again, he was able to convince to get Fedotov over. What is your thought on the goaltending tandem? And in general, like the Philly just being willing to take that risk or that attempt to bring over and develop Russian players?
Yeah, I think that the goaltending situation is the biggest question mark, in my opinion. I think that, can Samuel Urson replicate the season that he had last year, minus the latter parts of, the last 8 or 9 games or so, due to an increased workload, like Pawel, like you mentioned, with Carter Hart being gone. And I think I want to make this clear. I think the Flyers did the right thing by letting him go. They didn't want to draw on unnecessary attention towards the team. If something failed or whatnot. I think they did a great job with that and just let him go. Being that the NHL didn't step in and say, hey, no, we'll you didn't have to. I think they did the right thing. But yeah, Ivan Fedotov coming over, I think that really helped the Russian ties with the Flyers. Danny Briere, allowed him to make up his own mind, last year, told his contract. He was questioning, I think, from what I gathered from everything, if he wanted to, not necessarily if he wanted to come over, he just wasn't ready at the time. And I think a lot of that had to do with being with his family. He didn't want to leave his family and stuff. And, after that horrible situation that, encountered and stuff and going through a traumatic situation, I think the Flyers handled that with class. Okay, well, let him go over, let him play. We'll toll his contract. So if and when he wants to come, he can come. And he decided, hey, I think now's the time, and came over. I think the Flyers handled that. I think that was the first sign. And I think Roman Rottenberg and Sochi saw, and they said, oh, okay, they didn't make no waves, with Fedotov. Didn't blame here, didn't place blame with CSKA, didn't do this. I think it's all how Danny Briere handles himself collectively and respects, that the KHL, that he does have a contract or didn't have a contract with KHL, regardless. He did have a contract with the Flyers, but he wanted to respect the KHL and said, hey, okay, you want to come? You come. So I think that he respected that with Sochi. He didn't, draw any unnecessary attention towards Roman Rottenberg and how he was treated, and how Mitchie was treated, with playing time and usage and being sent to Sochi. I think he wanted to get away because of his dad, that was just so close to home to him that I think he wanted a fresh start. And, Danny Briere handled that with class. And I think that how you handle yourself and how you present your case, and you're not demanding, hey, he's under contract right here, bring him over, aside from the Alexei Kolosov, situation there, to where the Flyers were really nice last year. They loaned him to the Dynamo Minsk last year. They didn't have to. He was under contract in Philly. I want to make that known. It was a little bit of a different situation with Kolosov and the Mitchkovs and the Fedotov stuff. Like they loaned him, they allowed him to be loaned to Dynamo. Now, Briere is like, hey, we let you play over there, last year. Now you have to honor your end of the contract. You said that you were going to play with us, and now you don't want to. Like, what is the deal? So I think there's still a camaraderie. I still think that Danny Briere handled that with class. He didn't place blame on Dynamo, didn't place blame with the agents. He didn't get into all that. I think he handles himself. You called him the Russian whisperer, and that's exactly what he is. We have to be able to talk to one another and respect one another, even if that person or that organization is so right, but you could do more damage by calling them out and saying, hey, this is unfair. He should be here. I want him here. I'm demanding. You're going to get nowhere. It's an entirely different country. You're all the way over here. There's limited access there, especially with the war going on. So you have to really tread lightly, and I think Danny Briere did that. And he's really done well with Kolosov. He's done well with Michkov. He's done well with Fedotov. But to steer back to your question, goaltending is my biggest worry with this club. And that's because of, can Samuel Ersson replicate the year like last year? Now, he's played well in the preseason. Does that correlate to the regular season? Who knows?
So before Evan gets to his question about a goaltender is only as good as his defense, and he wants to get into some of the defense in Philly. There's a few people commenting, Kyle including, who's a Boston fan, and a few others, Lost Trucker. They're talking about Swayman. We all know what's going on with Swayman. Is there any opportunity that the Flyers could swoop in and make an offer to get Swayman to bolster their back end potentially? Would that be something that we have? Yeah.
Man, that's a really good question, and thank you to your fan for putting that in there. I don't think so. I don't think the Flyers have the cap space. I don't think they're in any position to, with the Ryan Johansson situation up in the air. And I say that because if they have to come to an arbitration agreement for, say, hey, okay, he was due $4 million this year. So if Ryan Johansson and the Flyers come to an agreement through arbitration or through attorneys and say, okay, well, we will reduce it by half and only be on the hook for $2 million. Well, that $2 million is now applied to the cap hit of Ryan Johansson for the Flyers. So that has to be kept in the back mind. So Swayman wants he wants at least 8 to 8.5 million. And that's this year. I just don't see it happening unless the Flyers were able to make a big trade. I think with inking Travis Konechny to that deal, I think, will deter that. Because he's now new on the books. Travis Sanheim's contract is new on the books. They got Cam York pending, as an RFA down the road here at the end of the season. They got Morgan Frost, who is going to need a new contract. He's an RFA at the end of the season as well. Those are two big ones right there that they have to figure out. And, amongst others, Noah Cates is an RFA at year's end because he signed a 2-year deal before. So there's players that are coming up with that need contracts. I don't think that the Flyers are in any situation, nor Torts is very high on Samuel Ersson. His comments today, he really defends Samuel Ersson well, and he should. He took the blame for the way the season ended last year, but wanted to make it known it was not Samuel Ersson's fault. It was due to large workload. That's why he faltered down the stretch. And today he protected him again and is like, hey, he's playing well. But he is himself worried, will that replicate? I just don't see the Flyers are in a situation right now to say, yes, I'm going to go after a Jeremy Swayman.
It's interesting, though, if you think last year how close they were on their goaltending. Because they were in the same boat last year moving forward. And I know I believe last week I shared a bit, and I've done some on some of my social media and I think on our Facebook page. But by the way, if you guys are just jumping in now, we have Jamie Basco on. He's with Flyers Nitty Gritty, a sports journalist writing for them down in Philadelphia. So definitely check him out at Jamie Basco. You'll love
great articles, great insight.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much.
I wonder. You're on the team. You're on the roster. They just forgot to add you to Cat Friendly or Puckpedia.
I heard that.
Well, no, he's not on. He doesn't have to be on the roster. He's on the active management list.
I want to say something about Swayman. Sometimes the way that they're handling this situation is to poke the bear. Like Bruins claiming a goalie off of waivers. That's exactly what the Flyers did. They claimed Eetu Mäkiniemi off. They didn't claim him. They signed him to a PTO. He earned a contract, Daniel Briere signed him to a 1-year deal, and then a day or two later, Kolosov's like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm coming." You know what I mean? So I think this is a way for the Bruins to say, "Hey, you don't want to be here? Fine. All right. We'll pick somebody up." Sometimes this helps. That's what I mean. So I still think Jeremy Swayman is going to be a Bruin. I think that they will resolve their situation here. Sometimes Cam Neely, maybe the talks stopped. Maybe they stalled. And that's why Cam Neely said, "Hey, I have 64 million reasons why, he should be here now."
Okay.
Maybe the talks stalled.
Goaltending thing, because we only got one more question that Pavel will do, and then we're going to have to this is why we need you in more often.
I know.
Go to the Fedotov thing a little bit, because one of the things that I was talking about is a goalie who comes from Russia, and he's a little older, is understanding the size of the rink and the angles, because the guy is a monster out there. He's a blocker, so he's not athletic. You're not dealing with a Fleury type player here, right? So he's being taught. It's learning glove positioning, how to hold the corners. I mean, his head. I was watching the 2 games ago on the preseason game, and literally when he's tucked up into the corner, it's like the net is there at the top of the net on the corner with his head up at his eye level. Most goalies still have a little space above it, right? But one of the things that I really believe, and I'm sticking to this, as good as Erson is, that once he's got 20-25 games, I really believe that Fedotov could be taking over that net, if not by season's end, by the beginning of next season, regardless of where they're at. I'm excited for the time. But it's going to be a battle. If Erson doesn't have to have as big a workload, he's probably going to perform better. So it'll be an interesting haul.
I hope you're absolutely right. I think the one thing that scares me about Fedotov is that if you get him moving east to west, I think that, being that his size and stuff, he struggles a little bit to get to the, post in the reactionary time to make that clutch save. But in the same token, he has done that in the KHL somehow due to his athleticism. He is a little more athletic than, what people portray him as. And he's proving that during the preseason. But the one thing, these are NHL players now, not KHL players. KHL is the second, toughest league in the world. In the same token, NHLers are, to me, the best team, the best league in the world. So now you got faster players and people that, make plays and do these insane passes. Does he have enough reactionary time to make the save? That's the only thing that I'm a little worried about. But yeah, I think that Fedotov should be given every chance if he wants to take the number one netminder. They both talk hand in hand with one another, and that's what I wanted to. Fedotov says nothing is earned, and the same thing by nothing is given to you. Nothing. You have to earn it. And that's what both goaltenders are living by this training camp and preseason. And that's a heck of a thing to say, and I like it. Samuel Ersson is pegged as a number one, and he's still saying, "Hey, I still have to play well. Nothing is given to me. Everything is earned." And same thing with Fedotov. He says the right things. I think that what bodes well for Fedotov is his relationship with Michkov and his relationship with, Igor Zamula. And I think that, that correlates well. And I think that makes him a happy camper, to have more, more culture there, more of their own, language, more safety. You're thinking more, it gives you more comfortability, with some, Russian players, on the active roster. I think that really helps and gives him confidence. So, yeah, Evan, your theory is, people could call you crazy, but you're not. You're just sort of making a prediction, and I think that your prediction should be right right now, because the goaltending situation to me is in the air. It's not, hey, this guy is pegged. Yeah, although Samuel Ersson is given the title of number one, the way Torts talks, I think that they don't have a clear number one.
Yeah.
No, that's fair, but I still call Evan crazy, so don't worry about it, regardless of his takes. All right, so I guess as a wrap-up, what is the expectation? Because, of course, the GM and the coach, Tortorella and Briere, and the whole organization, they want playoffs. That's what players are going to say. And they have that right. Everyone starts at zero. But what is the expectation from yourself, from the fan base in Philly? where Philadelphia Flyers should end up this season, because we know what the Metro is. We know the Rangers, President's Trophy. We know Devils a little bit better. Pittsburgh, older. Washington, older. Columbus, still a little uncertain with everything there. Where do you peg them? Can they make the playoffs? Is there a lot of pressure to make it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think in terms of the overall fan base, I think it's playoffs or bust. Not be contenders, because they're definitely not contenders. And I want to make that. They have too many questions right now to be said. Yes, they are a contender. You're looking at who would they surpass in the division? Just say top three. I don't see them surpassing the Rangers. I don't see them, outlasting, the Hurricanes. I don't. The Penguins are always a nuisance. They're always a thorn in the Flyers' side. Every time they're down and out, they make this wonderful comeback. Are they better than the Washington Capitals? I can't really say right now, because the goaltending is in. I think we could say that, but the goaltending is a question mark for me. And I'm very high on Urson. I'm an Urson supporter. I'm a Fedotov supporter. But going into the season, I'm just trying to keep this, as honest as possible. You have to think on who would they overtake. Will they overtake the Devils? I don't know. Will they overtake the Hurricanes? I don't know. Would they overtake the Rangers? I don't know. I can see them all being top three. Then you got the Penguins and the Capitals, who have tons of experience, So I think that it is playoffs or bust, but I think they'll have to get in on the wild card, because I can't see them surpassing and getting into that top three. But in the same token, who are they going to surpass in the wild card? Remember, last year it was a Metro team, and it came down to the final game, and Washington got in. The Leafs are going to be the Leafs. The Montreal Canadiens are far better than what they were, at least on paper, right? So, there's teams that were worse the last year. I still think that, unfortunately, Lord rest their souls, I think the loss of Johnny Hockey is a big one for the Columbus Blue Jackets, and that's to no avail. I am rooting for them. Actually, I'm rooting for them. That was a horrible situation, a tragic situation. So I'm going to have a soft heart for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I want to just say rest in peace to Johnny and Matt. Give my, condolences to their family and friends, and to the hockey family. Tough situation. That's really tough for them to overcome, but I am rooting for them. So if I had it pegged between, I'd like to see Philadelphia and Columbus get that last, wild card there. I think that would be kind of neat, but I think it is playoffs or bust for this fan base. Based off last year, you figure the prior year they increased their point total by 5 points. I think they finished with 80. Last year they finished 85. Not mistaken, right? And so, you're at least thinking, okay, the Flyers should finish with 90 to 92 points. That should be a wild card spot. That 90 points is the threshold there. I think if they were able to eclipse the 90-point threshold, I think they should be able to make the playoffs. So yeah, I have them as like a 7th or an 8th seed. Losing first round, I think the Flyers are still too young. This is the trade deadline doesn't do anything to move the needle for me in terms of, that's just my honest opinion. I think they'll do a lot of their moves, in the off season there. But I think they should be able to sneak into the wild card there, and I think Mitchkov will help with that. And I think that you're going to see some increases in production. I think Morgan Frost is going to have a career year. I think that Owen Tippett, especially if the Frost, Mitchkov Tippett line is of that. I see Morgan Frost having a really good year. Mitchkov is going to help, his numbers. Mitchkov is also going to help Owen Tippett as well, and I think Tippett's going to crack the 30-goal mark, this year for once.
Wow. Flyers fans have a lot to look forward to, and so do the NHL. Watching, because their eyes will be on you guys with Mishkov there and their whole goaltending situation.
I will say, it's going to be on the health of Couturier as well. Like he's a hell of a player. But if he's able to stay healthy for at least 70 to 75 games, I think that legitimately will place him in the playoffs. If he doesn't play in at least 70, I don't know, because Couturier is a different breed. Even though when he's out there, and not producing, he's still producing in a way that the young people and everybody look up to him. He makes players around him want to play harder. And I think that Couturier is a hell of a player. And yeah, he's been injury riddled the past few years and stuff. But if he's able to play in 70 games, I think that will definitely solidify a wild card.
Well, people are appreciating your comments. They're saying Jamie is pumped. He likes the poke the bear analogy. People like your passion, so we appreciate it. So again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, check you out? Where do you want them to go to check out all Flyers stuff?
Well, I want them to come to you guys for sure. You guys do a great job. Two Guys Hockey Talk. Man, you guys, the best intro in the business. I'm going to say that now. Your fans are phenomenal. Appreciate you all. At Jamie Basco, at Flyers Nitty. Give these two a follow. If you're not, I'm sure you are. Evan and Pawel, they do phenomenal work. My team does really good work. We try. Anyway, we're busy, but we try. The fans. We wouldn't be here without the fans, and I think that has to be said, and that's always stood with me. I try to answer, each and every fan, because I know I wouldn't be in this position if it weren't for them, for sure. Hands down, for sure. The amount of respect.
Very quickly on Twitter, that's for sure.
They're awesome. I mean, the amount of respect they give me and give our writers and our passionate followers is absolutely amazing. It's crazy, and they deserve the coverage. They deserve the honesty. If a player is going to suck, I'm going to tell them, hey, they're not playing very well right now. If they're playing really well, I'll tell you if they're playing really well. Pretty high on Mitchkov, but I'm tempering my expectations, for his first season, because I don't think that, it's very rare that you see a McDavid, a Sidney Crosby or something like that. Leon Draisaitl just come and burst into the league, and Connor Bedard even, just burst into the league and make their name known. Mitchkov could be that, or maybe he won't. So I'm going to temper my expectations. I love the guy. Just give him some time.
Well, temper it, and then there's nothing but upside then from that temperate. Right? So I'd like to say this. So, guys, make sure you follow Jamie. Find out what's going on at Flyers Nitty Gritty. Get onto X. A lot of action happens there. I'd like to also just let you know that when you follow Jamie, it's like literally a wrestling ring in the middle of the ring, and he's running Ultimate Warrior, bouncing off the ropes, lifting the team up. If they're down behind, you have taken the last couple seasons. There's been tough stuff going on, but you made it for Flyer fans exciting. So, Jamie, thanks for all the work you do. Thanks for taking the time to come on over on our show here, and we definitely appreciate everything you guys are doing.
Appreciate you all. We love you guys. Take care.
Cheers, guys. That was Jamie Basco.
Guest headliner.
Brought to you by JR Web Design. Is your website stuck in the Stone Age? Well, you need JR Web Designs. They'll craft you a website that's as awesome as our show. All right, man. That was I'm pumped now for the last part of our show. We're gonna
be exciting. There's so much to cover. So thank you again, Jamie. Great insight. If you want anything related Flyers, go there. He's got you connected. He's dialed in. He knows the ins and outs. He's there at the practices.
Let's hit the preseason. Let's talk quickly about this. You sent to me, you said, Evan, I want to talk about preseason. Go ahead.
So it seems like there's been a lot of debate with all the injuries that have happened to Reinbacher and Laine out in Montreal, to Drew Doughty with the LA Kings and a few other players, some big profile case.
Can I just mention the players before you continue here? Current injuries. Panarin with the Rangers. Lindgren with the Rangers. Reinbacher and Laine that you just said. Celebrini is bumped up right now with the Sharks. Stützle over with the Senators right now. Shabbat the Senators. Kachuk. Doughty with the Kings. We didn't get to talk about it last week. Matt Boldy. That's a very big deal with the Wild. And, I spelled his wrong name. Philip Chickle. Is it with the Rangers also?
Philip Cheadle.
Cheadle left the September 24th preseason game after getting a knee on knee. I didn't follow up on that. He got it from New York Islanders Mayfield. So those are all the injuries. I mean, that's nuts.
So it's crazy. And Ray says, preseason, someone's getting ready for the regular season on Friday with the Global Series. But I mean, really, it's interesting because McDavid was asked about it recently, and he indicated that he wants to play more games and he wants to play every game he could. But I know that one of the things that they're discussing is that they want to move over to an 84-game season instead of 82 because it's a financial gain for the NHL. Now,
for preseason then, if they go
shorter preseason. So I think the challenge is that you can have fewer preseasons game. I get it. But for some of these young players who may not make the NHL, this is their time to shine. This is a chance for them to come in and make an impact because there's usually one, maybe two spots. That is available for them. Most players, like veterans, know that where they're going to play, what their role is, provided injuries don't happen. But for those specific players that, are trying to make an impact, like a Noah Phillip here in Edmonton, if he's coming in, he wants to be that fourth line center. Well, most likely, the coach is going to want Derek Ryan there. But really, these injuries, you have to be mindful because I think the refs need to be conscientious. And you have players that you may not have your NHL lineup. You have an AHL lineup out there. So you're trying to promote and showcase this to kids, because it's a little bit of a cheaper ticket price rather than the regular
season. Not for the season ticket holders, though. They're selling for cheap. They're the ones losing money.
So I guess it's a matter. I think it should be shortened, or you have some other kind of scrimmages or practices that you can include with local teams in order to practice, or have this
right?
Yeah, this mutual agreement between teams before games that if we're going to have X amount of NHLers, you also have X amount of NHLers. I know that's a little hard to enforce, but you also have to be mindful because injuries do happen. That's part of the game. It's playing smart. However,
one thing I'd be good with, because the talk is 4 preseason. That way, they're all regulars, except for 1 or 2 that are on the bubble. Maybe 3 or 4 for some teams, and then 2 more for 84 in the season. But that's going to be a bigger ticket. Now, one of the things that I don't like, if you don't have an NHL contract, not 2-way, 1-way contract, you are not eligible to play in those 4 games. But you guys ready? 3 rookie games, 2 games like you see in the preseason that are not part of packages, that are just your AHL, your PTO stuff, where they actually play other teams, same kind of lineups. If you want to sign them to a contract for those 4 preseason games, you can do it, but I don't think they should be allowed. That's just my thing to keep away from injuries. I know we got a lot to go into, so why don't we cover some of our other information? And if you're looking, by the way, when we get into the numbers, we're going to talk about Swayman more specifically, some of the stuff that Jamie talks about a little earlier. So Pawel, I did want to hold this last couple of weeks for you and I to talk about.
Sure.
Jonathan Marchessault. This has been silent now because we've gone into the preseason. He's quit talking and complaining about McCrimmon. McCrimmon's talking about him. Like, there was a back and forth little battle that went on there about what they offered him. They offered him a super deal, they felt, for his age, a declining player. Even though he was a Conn Smythe only, a year and a half or not even. Previous to the end of the season, he was going to free agency. So my thing is, there's a lot of bitterness that seemed to be in this. Do you think either one is a little upset that they probably didn't bend just a little bit?
Oh, yeah, most likely. But that's part of the business. And I get it. I mean, Kelly McCrimmon is doing what's best for the Vegas organization, not what's best for Jonathan Marchessault. And Jonathan Marchessault and his agent are going to do what's best for him, his family, and his situation. And clearly what he got offered in Nashville was much more lucrative than than what Vegas offered him, which I believe was a little bit less term because of his age. I believe he's 34, 35 coming up soon. So, and I get it. There's a bigger risk when you sign an older player to that long-term contract, right? Jordan mentions Vegas love to treat players like crap. Can't wait for them to struggle, keep players when they suck. It's interesting because they've signed quite a few big guys. They just got Noah Hannafin, who allegedly wanted to go to Tampa Bay, and yet they got him and signed him. They picked up Jack Eichel. He's a winner there now. He's happy with what's going on there. Pietrangelo is there. Shea Theodore's coming up. That's going to be a big one. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I mean, Vegas is going to be competitive. I get it. It's a ruthless business. I think the problem is it's much more profound. And because the team has had so much early success, being in the finals in its inaugural season, being in the Stanley Cup almost 5 out of the 6 years, winning a cup in the first 6 years, people don't like that. Fan bases don't like that. There's fan bases that are still waiting for a taste of the Stanley Cup final, let alone one of the conferences. Yeah. And Vegas has done it so well. they were given a bit of a lax in terms of what players they were able to pick versus what Seattle was able to pick, and teams were a bit smarter, right? Teams learned. So I could see why. But again, Vegas is going to do what's best for them. It'll be interesting to see how they do because it's a very competitive Pacific division. But I don't know about you, but I think sometimes players, you got to go where you think you have the best shot, not only of winning, but also if you've won, maybe lifestyle, but also the best paycheck you're going to get, right?
Well, and you can't blame them, guys. It does come down to dollars for some people more than others. I know you guys can be saying, well, that's, they already make millions. Well, I don't know. I make 5 and you offer me $4 million more. I might just go there, even if I don't win a cup.
So I was joking with a friend that, like, we know that Vinny Desharnais got, I believe, 1.5 or 2 million with Vancouver. What's it called? And I know he wanted to stay at Edmonton, but you're pretty much paying the majority of that contract to your rent because of how expensive it is in Vancouver. So you got to think of these things.
Ray's saying, seeing a lot of contract talks play out publicly. And we're going to talk about that, Ray, in just a little bit after we're done another little piece here. So, okay, so we have some other news that we were going to go over. I'm going to just cover a couple of them quickly. I'll leave some, Pawel, because I want to go to the last question about Rookie of the Year for you and I to have a discussion before we go over to talk about Sidney Crosby and Jeremy Swayman. Okay, so having said that, just a couple news notes, everyone. Just a reminder that Jessica Campbell got her head coaching debut. We knew she's an assistant. So during preseason, you might say that's not a big deal. It's preseason. It's a big deal considering it's the first time for a female coach, even preseason. So those are history-making moments. They're very important. Just talked to Jessica Pierce over with Bar Down Beauties and talking about how you need to get those opportunities. A couple notes really quick. Ilya and Elias Prontas, they're brothers. They got their first chance to play for Washington during a preseason game. That was a big deal just a little over a week ago. And if you did not know, Dave Quinn had joined Mike Sullivan this year coaching. No, I haven't saw it made a big mention over in Pittsburgh. He's really going to be focusing on defense and a fresh tactical approach. Now, I do just want to say this. I'm still holding my guns. Unless Pittsburgh comes out flying, I know Lost Strucker and I were just talking about this recently. I still believe Sullivan is on the ropes. What happens for Quinn? And I do still believe, and I'll be very public about it now. I haven't said it. I do believe Woodcroft could be one of those ones coming in. I gave you hints last year. I'm actually shocked that people are acting like he's not that great a coach because of the way the Oilers started. That was an anomaly. Guys, they had superstars not playing to their potential. They had people injured. And his problem was he was against the crunch. And so he had the most winningest of any coach coming into the NHL until Chris Knobloch took over, which tells you this might be something to do with your lineups, around it. So, but let's do this. You and I right now. Let's talk. Give me who you think will be the 3 finalists. Whether you want to share who you think takes it, but the 3 finalists for Rookie of the Year and what you're excited about seeing this year.
So I think Celebrini is an easy pick, of course. I think Michkov is probably up there and potentially could win, but again, a lot of pressure on him. I got to think. And I think maybe Askarov as well. I know you rarely see goalies win it, but I mean, he made that bold, statement of wanting to be traded, as Ray indicated, going public, and got traded to the San Jose Sharks. So I see Askarov potentially having an opportunity, provided he plays at least 50, 60 games and could do what Stuart Skinner did at Edmonton a few years back when he got nominated.
Now Cutter Gauthier is another one, right?
Yeah. I worry about his health. I worry about Cutter Gauthier's health.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fair around that. Now, I believe that Josh Doan out of Utah, formerly the Arizona Coyotes, he didn't play enough games last year, so he is eligible as well. And who knows if TJ Ginla actually sticks. I don't believe he's been sent down yet. He just scored.
He was sent down this morning.
Oh, he was. Okay, I didn't get the check.
He was sent down this morning back to the WHL.
Okay, how did you get that? And I didn't get that.
You gotta listen in. You gotta get the insiders.
someone
Ray is saying Seamus Cassie, potentially, who could do it.
Okay.
So we'll be interested to see. I'll have to do a little bit of digging about him. Apparently, he was born in Miami, Florida, 20 years old, right? And a New Jersey prospect. So he loves his New Jersey Devils. So we're going to keep an eye on him, Ray, because that's going to be interesting. And he said he thought he would be out next year. Go ahead.
So it's going to be an interesting race. I think it's Macklin, Celebrini, and Mishkov as long as they're both healthy. That's the key.
He had a little bit of a lower body injury, didn't he, Celebrini, recently?
And he's struggling with it through camp, is what's been reported. We, by the way, may have a San Jose Sharks in the new year. A writer for them that follows very closely, has very good inside information. Looking forward to. And by the way, when it comes to cap space, could we have the Vegas of this year is the Oilers with Evander Kane? I want you guys to know one of our partners, Hart Levine with Puckpedia. We will have him on November 20th. So any cap questions you want to send in ahead of time, how things work, understanding them, make sure you go to their site, check it out. So there's going to be some great information. We got some great news.
One other name to keep an eye on that I know Montreal fans are very excited about is Lane Hudson. I know that's someone to keep an eye on that's going to be interesting to watch. But go ahead.
And Lane's looking really good. So and just a heads up, next week we will talk to the U.S. head scout, Michael Devellano. We had him on last year for the Everett Silvertips. So he's following the exceptional status with Landon DuPont, who's actually playing for Everett this year. They've done really well in preseason. So make sure you give us a follow. If you want to talk anything around junior hockey, man, this guy's got it, as well as he's a big hockey fan of the Oilers and the Red Wings. And if you're not familiar, he's a second cousin to Jimmy Devellano, who actually some people think it's his dad with the Detroit Red Wings organization for many years. So, all right. So at this point in time, guys, why don't we go ahead and get ready? What we want to do is go over to By the Numbers, guys. Puckpedia, the ultimate source for your NHL salary cap information, player contracts, team cap hits, transaction news, and injury news.
By the numbers.
All right. So what I'd like to do is just kind of bring up here. I'm going to put it on screen. So if you guys don't have a screen, that's fine. I'm going to throw it up on screen. I want to talk a moment about Sidney Crosby. I'm going to bring some numbers, and then we'll take a couple minutes to talk about this. And then we're going to go to Jeremy Swayman and what's going on and everybody's takes, and you can throw in your thoughts and ideas here. So during this time, I have an article. If you go over to us at Two Guys and Hockey Talk, so go in there, check out our articles, as well as guys like Jamie. We have them listed in there. You can go find their links, all that information. But go check out, so you can check all our writers, Pavel, myself, Patrick Conway with KHL, Frank Becker out of Germany, as well as Kevin Olensik, who's going to be on soon, who does weather anchoring in DC and in Vancouver. And he has also got his own podcast running with the Flames and the Canucks. So if you guys have interest, but go check out the article I did on the Mount Rushmore, and then you'll see why. So what I want to do is I just want to bring a moment, and then let's talk Pavel. I'm going to give you some numbers, guys. So some people said Crosby top 5 because I put Mario Lemieux, I put Wayne Gretzky, of course, I put Bobby Orr, and I already put Connor McDavid. It's not because I'm an Oilers fan. It's just because of the fact he is trying, barring an injury. And if you look at what he's done, Orr played 7 years.
Barring a long-term devastating injury.
And Orr revolutionized the game, okay? Gretzky revolutionized the game. Lemieux revolutionized the game. McDavid is revolutionizing the game, but that's not who I'm focused on right now. I'm focusing on Sidney Crosby because to me, Pavel, he has revolutionized the game. So let's take a look at some numbers and then you guys put your comments in around there. He is the only player in NHL history to accomplish a Stanley Cup playoff, so winning the Conn Smythe, getting an Olympic gold, having a golden goal, having a World Cup gold, a World Cup MVP, and the scoring title, as well as IIHF World Championship gold and the scoring title for them. When World Junior gold, was an NHL MVP. He was a Lindsay Trophy winner, an Art Ross winner, a Rocket Richard winner, Mark Messier Award, many records in junior that I haven't even touched on. And I would like to say that I believe Crosby will go down. I'm sorry to you Oiler fans, but he will go down as the greatest leader in NHL hockey. Because if you look at his game and what he does, it's not just his skill, it's not just his talent, it's not just his well-around, it's his leadership. And so I think that that's amazing. What's Lost Trucker saying?
She's saying in 5 to 6 years, Crosby becomes first player to score more points than Gretzky has points.
5 to 6 years. Oh, you think he's going to play that? Okay.
He only signed a 5-year deal, so I don't know how he's doing in the 6th year, but sure.
He's only signed. What did he do on his deal?
He got a 5-year, 8.7, wasn't it? Or was it 4 year?
I thought it was
3-year, wasn't it?
2-year. He has a 2-year deal, so he's only got 3 years left right now, unless he signs another deal after. How much do you make a bet? He goes year by year with an
2-year, yeah, 2-year, yeah.
He'll stick it at 8.7 for the rest of his life.
And she means assists, yeah.
Oh,
sorry, I was thinking of Letang and Malkin, who signed their 5-year deals there.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
He is an excellent leader. He's really brought it to the game. He's really revolutionized the game, especially given all the turmoil that happened in 2005, 2006, I believe it was, with the lockout season, the partial lockout season, and everything that happened there. And in an era where, it was close to the end of the dead puck era with the New Jersey Devils and what was happening there. And Ray can at me all he wants, but that's kind of how they won. And he made it seem impossible. Now, he's not without too much, controversy. He wasn't a big fan of the refs. The concussions were a big factor, but he is an excellent, excellent player on and off the ice. He will retire a Pittsburgh Penguin as he wanted to. He has given his life to that franchise, which is very rare to see, as you see oftentimes players go on. Ray Bourque is a prime example, moving on even after being in with Colorado for so long. And I think really, he will be one of the top probably 7-8 players because, Evan, you forgot Mr. Hockey, Gordie Howe, who I think was elite, and another guy that retired and was a fellow player and skater with Mr. Sidney Crosby, Jaromir Jagr, who will retire at the end of this season. So there's some great echelon out there, but he has done a lot. That game-winning goal.
Gordie Howe didn't revolutionize the game. Jaromir Jagr didn't revolutionize the game for me.
Gordie Howe didn't revolutionize the game. He played. He was the only.
Jagr did not revolutionize the game. So, guys, give us your thoughts. We're disagreeing on this.
Trucker loves my hair, so clearly I'm doing something right.
We're not talking. We're talking in their career. Did they make a change to how people view players in it?
Yes,
so, hey,
Jagr, yeah. Do you not know the Fullet? I mean, if I could have the Fullet right now, Trucker would lose her mind. But
that's all right. You don't revolutionize hockey with that. Anyways,
come on. A good hairdo in hockey makes everything.
Well, good luck signing your NHL contract because you got good hair.
I think
guys,
yeah,
you bet. I just want to bring mention again to our show. So go check us out on our site. Go to NHL.com. No, don't go there. Go to twoguysinhockeytalk.com. You can follow our podcast live right there through YouTube directly on our site if you choose. Blow it up on your TV. It's much easier, and then you can interact that way. Check out our articles from our latest blog, as well as go in and find all the former guys like Robbie Stramp and Kyle Rossheader and Leah Hextall and Pierce and like we have like dozens and dozens and dozens, and we're not even caught up of trying to update everybody.
We're working on it. Now, Ray, hey, 3 cups. I'm not mad. So thank you, Ray. I mean, I wouldn't be mad either with 3 cups. So a few things that I know you wanted to talk about. So I just wanted to quickly get your thoughts before we get to the Swayman situation. Columbus.
Okay. Is this numbers? Are we talking in the numbers section? Let's stick to our numbers. Are we in the by numbers section you want to talk about?
This is the numbers. Yeah, this is the numbers.
Last time you were with me, you jumped ship.
I'm with you. I am following the pack. I'm following the script here. So Columbus with the cap. They were under. They've been given an extension. Of course, everyone knows why. So I believe they're like 1.3, 1.4 underneath the cap. They're okay. I think it was agreed upon as a group, as on the board of governors that just happened yesterday, that it's okay. Go ahead and make this work. I'm sure Don Waddell will figure something out and make it work, but that's just something to keep In Ottawa news, the owner, Michael Andlauer, they're close to building a new arena downtown. Now, Jordan and I were at the one in Canada. It was interesting. It was far, for sure. It was a bit smaller. It wasn't the newest arena, but it was a good experience. We watched them play the Tampa Bay Lightning, high-scoring game. But it definitely could use being somewhere central or in the core of downtown, because Ottawa is a beautiful city, beautiful capital, and I think it would be good to have it there. And
where the good is transit, right? So people that don't have vehicles can
exactly. And it's only going to be a few people that are going to be impacted who have it close right now, but I don't think it's going to be a big deal. And you indicated that I think he bought 15% from the minority owner, and I think he indicated that he didn't really want to hand out. Now, I know it's a PR thing because he's going to have to work with the city of Ottawa as well as the province potentially. But, he wants to make sure he gets a functioning building. They've really stabilized that market in terms of ownership. And I know that, Eugene Melnick was questionable, but, things didn't always go that way, right? And Lost Trucker says, city people definition of far is stupid.
Yeah, well, that's Lost Trucker that travels thousands of miles within days.
And before we get to Jeremy Swayman numbers, we wanted to quickly talk about a former other first-round pick. First-round pick, Taylor Hall. He's in a contract year. And he's playing in Chicago. He's been through a few different things. He was injured last year early in the season. Your thoughts on his contract, given his age and injury? What could that look like? Would he stay with Chicago, or would he want to go and try to win one more time? Potentially a reunion with Edmonton, or maybe somewhere else.
I do think he wants to win one more time because he's a super competitor. Any of the Oiler fans remember that when he came in early, and he's a historian of hockey. Passionate, right? Like he cannot not watch hockey. That is part of what he does. So he's been doing a lot of it with his injuries. I think if they're competitive, but I can't see him that competitive. If he thinks in the next 2-3 years they have a chance, maybe he'll want to, or they're going to offer the best contract. But if a contender that he believes has a top 4 opportunity, I could see him jumping at that, maybe even taking a little bit less because of that competitor. But you never know, right? But it's a contract year. So if he stays healthy, I just think there's more passion, Pavel, when it comes to your contract years. We've all saw it where people play better because they're playing for a paycheck.
100%. All right. So the Jeremy Swayman saga, final thing here around the numbers. So it's been alluded to that Cam Neely, who, when I watched Dumb and Dumber, that scene where he takes Jim Carrey into the bathroom and starts to ready to pound him. It seems like he mentioned that he has 64 million reasons as to why Swayman should be playing. His agent, Louis Gross, came out and said that was not true. Frank Saravelli came to confirm that it was a 62.5, so a $7.8 million deal for 8 years, because they're the only ones that can offer the max term. And it seems now people are kind of, taking a breather, figuring this out. But what do you make of the contract? It sounds like he wants 8.5. Could this be a Nylander 2.0 situation where he goes into the new one? As Jamie indicated, there was a goalie from Vancouver that was picked up this morning. They still have Korpisalo, who was noted as he's going to be the starter and has had solid numbers overall. Just last year was a bit of a blip in Ottawa, but it's been okay with LA and with Columbus. Your thoughts on this and this saga being super public?
This has been so polarizing, right, in hockey right now. And I'm noticing probably 85-90% of people, unless they think it's too much money, they're basically saying, hey, this shouldn't have went public at all. But I do want to bring mention, and by the way, I know we're going to go probably about 10 minutes overtime here, guys. Can I just bring mention? This was already public. And the reason is Swayman made it public. Let me just read you an article that was in The Score. Boston Bruins goaltender Jeremy Swayman said he has better prepared himself for negotiations. This is 1 month ago. He says, if you asked me that question a year ago, I would answer truthfully, and I would say it's scary. But on the Shut Up Mark podcast, he says it's a lot of resentment towards people that want you to succeed. And when you're not getting compensated for your endless efforts and doing what you do best, it's nerve-wracking feeling because of the family you're fighting for. I don't think many fans are going to say we're fighting for your family when you get making millions, but I understand. Swayman, he talks about his deal. Now, He says, I'm going to give you this year the answer that I've educated myself and that I understand the business side of it. It's giving me a complete new mindset of understanding the business and how to react. I understand the cap's going up. In other words, he's doing his work, and it will be where it will be in years. I understand my comparables. So he believes he's looked at that with his agent. He says, and how I can't ruin the goalie market for other guys that are going to be in my shoes down the line. Okay, let me just start with that there. That there is already telling me that he went public. He already stated it, and he put it, I'm not taking less. And now when Neely's frustrated with the dealings, because there was stuff by Biznasty and all this rumblings with Spitting Chicklets saying that they knew something. They weren't answering their phones, which was false. It was a bad narrative. And that's when they came out and said, hey, that's not true. And Biz and actually it wasn't Biz, it was Whitney that actually had made that comment. And Biz got in trouble for it. But anyway, the bottom line is they played it out already. They made it public. And now what they're doing is putting pressure on the team. This is me. I have a different narrative on this. So I think the team comes back and says, listen, you're missing camp. You're not here for this. We're probably, and I'm guessing they were thinking they're like $0.5 to $1 million apart, thinking would work. And he's held his guns like you talked about. Now it's changed the narrative because they came out and said, you know what, enough is enough. This guy has played 4 years and played 45% of the games for that team in four years. 45% of the games, a 919 save percentage through those games. Great job, but he's never carried the load. He's never played full time, which he'll have to now. And so he's saying that's his comparables. He's not comparable to guys who have trophies and all these other things that have been going for them. He hasn't come through in the playoffs, when he's got in there. So it's just like, now,
what are you talking about? He was the reason why they won and beat Toronto last year, and Omar was full even last year.
The Boston Bruins, they were expected in the Final Four. Just because you win against the Toronto Maple Leafs doesn't.
That's not on him. He played lights out. They could not score. I disagree. He played well in the playoffs. He helped overcome the Toronto Maple Leafs. He played unreal. He took over Linus Ullmark's job last year again versus the Panthers when they got They were up. I believe it was, and then they got down to the Panthers, right? And he pulled Ullmark. This is one of the reasons they traded Ullmark. Now, I don't agree that they should have traded Ullmark, and I've always liked Ullmark when he was in Buffalo. I disagree. I think Boston prioritized the wrong thing like Edmonton did with a few of their RFAs, and I think they went after Elias Lindholm. I think they went after Zadorov, and I really think that they left us for the last minute thinking, hey, everyone on our team has taken somewhat of a quote-unquote discount. Pasternak, discount. Hampus Lindholm, discount. Charlie McAvoy, discount. And he's supposed to be one of the best defensemen. And so they think, because you play in Boston, we're going to take a discount? No. If I'm him, I'm like, I'm taking what I can. And I think 8.5 isn't as bad because now you pay for what is potential. Look at the Dylan Guenther situation. People don't like it, but he hasn't proven anything. And yet, doesn't matter. No, he's played barely any games. You look at goaltenders.
Comparables do not go to skater versus goalie. They're very different. We could talk. Let's talk about Levine when he comes on.
I really think they misprioritized their situation, and I really think I think that they can pay him 8.5, and they're choosing not to. It's because they have a cap for every person, and most players in Boston have taken that discount.
They got $3 million already wrapped up in Gorbaselli.
They are in uncharted territories for the first time in their franchise history in the last few years here, where they're like, "What's going on?"
Let me rebuttal the whole piece on Ullmark. I am so tired. This is from my point of view. I'm so tired of people saying that they blew it. They did not blow it. They had to trade Ullmark. Two things that happened. Number one, they had to let him go ahead of his trade deadline of the timing because he could take his no trade move clause and limit the team. So that would affect who they get back. Second of all, they showed Swayman, you're the man. They got rid of someone to say, you're the man. And now he takes that and says, yeah, that's right, I'm the man. They gave him the upper hand. But just because they gave it to him doesn't mean that they should bend over and take another, kicking. Yeah,
but bend over in what sense? He was the Charlie McAvoy deal, and he's like, I want to be a comparable to him. I'm still under him. He's not Hellebuck. I get it. He's not Hellebuck. He's not Shesterkin. He's not Saros, but he still has proven that I can do this. Pay me. And I think they could have made this work They have gone public. Boston has done it too. Cam Neely didn't have to go public and talk about 64 million reasons. He said,
but hang on. Swayman can go on and says, I'm not going to bend. I'm going to kick.
Players can do whatever they want.
Yeah, but why can a player do whatever he wants, but an actual manager can't say what? Like that's hypocritical. I don't agree with that. I think one and the other. He made it public when he went public. That was on Swayman.
Evan needs to see the Cam Neely Dumb and Dumber meme sending now.
I've already saw it.
I think players want to get paid what they're worth. You look at someone in Toronto like
Marner,
for you, but you look at Draisaitl. You look at Draisaitl and you look at
comparing goalies to skaters. It's different. It's not comparable. Anyway, this has been a fun battle. Maybe we can talk more next week. We're already at 7 after, and we're going to have to move our segment. Sure. Otherwise, we're going to go through. So why don't we skip?
So what if he went to arbitration and he got awarded that? What would happen then? Would Boston have to trade him? Would they fit the cap?
I think he's trying to get in the last word, but I will not rebuttal your last word. I'll leave that with you finishing it off.
Montreal has okay. Well, Lost Trucker says Montreal with LTIR has.
She's trying to figure out her own deals. She's trying to figure out her own deals with it. She sent me some stuff to talk about. I haven't had a chance to do that. So we're going to skip around the rink. We had some other news. We'll talk about that next week, guys. I just want to go in to a little bit of hockey history as we try to do every week. I give you one last really short story before we call it a round.
The Kalkaska Battlers presents
Hockey History.
Catch the Kalkaska Battlers as they compete in the APHL. Check the skills, speed, heart. Make sure you catch a game and experience the thrill of live hockey. Go Battlers.
Awesome stuff. The story, and many of you might have already saw the story around there. For those that didn't, really quick story around Wayne Gretzky and his son when he was younger. He decided to take him he said, Dad, I want to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. And so he took his son to the Hockey Hall of Fame, but he said, listen, I'm going to have to wear some glasses and a cap because everybody's going to recognize me. He's bloody Wayne Gretzky, and he's in Canada and he's in Toronto, right? He's an Ontario boy to begin with. And so he got in there, and they have a lot of these interactive, and so they were able to do pucks to hit on the target. And so his son got 1 for 1, 2 for 1, 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3. He ended up with 4 for 5. And then so Wayne says, he goes, so I got up there. I was like 0 for 1, 0 for 2, 0 for 3. He ended up getting 1 for 5. And then another kid came along and says, this is how you're supposed to grip your stick. And so Gretzky said, I was so frustrated. I took my cap and my hat off. And I said, I know.
I thought the story was a little different, where it was the attendee at the Hockey Hall of Fame and he was shooting, didn't make it. And then he said, hey, maybe this hockey thing isn't for you. Isn't that how the story went?
I saw the video on it, and it sounded like it was one of the other kids that was at the Fame. So
maybe it was one of the kids. I thought it was the attendee at the thing. Yeah.
So, but could you imagine Wayne Gretzky telling him how to grip a stick? With it. So but it's an awesome story, guys. We love stories. So if you got stories, you can send them in to 2guyshockeytalk@gmail.com. Go onto our website. You can find all that information all the time. And then just a quick reminder to everybody, follow us Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard. You can as well go in and check us out. So you can follow us at hockey_2 for Pawel, and for myself at REV and Ev. And guys, we love to hear from you. We love to talk to you. Thanks so much for joining on. There was dozens and dozens of you. We had around 40 people of you guys coming in live. Encourage you, leave comments, leave statements, leave questions for us. We always appreciate everything around. So go ahead.
Oh no, that was it. Yeah, it was the attendee that did it, right? But he did tell them about the
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, so great story. It's always good to hear. It's been fun. We don't agree on Swayman. We're going to have to get into this more because negotiations are just like our hockey podcast. We're never in agreement about things, but we love having that discussion and debate. So we appreciate everyone tuning in, for Jamie coming onto the show and sharing his predictions for the Philadelphia Flyers. We've got a jam-packed show next week for you guys. We're going to continue to push out articles on an ongoing basis. So check out our website at 2guysandhockeytalk.com. Evan, it's been a rig-a-ding-ding-dandy, or whatever you say.
Ding dong dandy, in the famous words of Ed Whalen. Exactly. I'd like to just mention next week with Michael Devellano, because he is a fan of the Detroit Red Wings. We'll talk a little bit about the Red Wings. We'll talk a little bit about the Albert Silvertips, WHL stuff, some of the scouts guys to look forward to, but we'll talk to him about the Red Wings. He's pretty passionate, and he also has his own podcast that he does. So that, it's been a blast. Thanks, man, for coming back. I haven't got riled up.
I thought it was going to be replaced. Every time I tune in, there was a new face. Like auditions.
It's like we were auditioning new faces. For the guys.
Both and Sean did a great job. So shout out to them. Thank you. Remember to like, share, subscribe, give us a follow on YouTube and on Facebook. We greatly appreciate it. We've got more coming up in the next few weeks. We're pumped about the regular season starting up this weekend, Evan.
NHL
hockey for the NHL in Europe, and then next week in North America. We are pumped. Let's go.
Woo! Well, in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Stay safe.
Cheers, guys.